If you'd like to own this timeless book in physical form, I've linked my favorite edition in the description below. A beautiful copy to study, gift, or keep forever. Anyone who acts unjustly also acts against nature, and therefore against the divine. The universe designed all rational beings to help one another, to do good, never harm. So when someone violates that purpose, they offend the oldest and most sacred principle, nature itself. Nature is the mother of all things. Everything that exists now is linked to what came before it, bound by origin and purpose. Nature is also truth. It is the root of every truth. To lie knowingly is to go against this, and therefore it is unjust and impious. Even those who go astray unintentionally, because they ignore or resist the natural order, are violating the harmony of the universe. To live contrary to truth is to live contrary to yourself. Nature gave us reason and the ability to seek truth. If someone neglects this and then cannot tell what's true from false, it's their own failure. Likewise, those who chase after pleasure as if it were the highest good and run from pain as if it were the worst evil, accuse nature of injustice. Because in this life, pleasures are often given to the wicked and suffering to the good. To fear the unavoidable experiences of life is to accuse the world of being wrong. Anyone who fears pain or hardship is afraid of what inevitably happens in the natural order. And that fear is itself a form of rebellion against nature. The same applies to those who do unjust things just to avoid discomfort or gain pleasure. They act impiously. Pain and pleasure, life and death, honor and disgrace. Nature treats all these things with equal indifference. If they weren't equally neutral, she wouldn't use them so freely in shaping the world. So if you want to live in harmony with nature, you must treat these things as nature does, with detachment. If you get worked up over them, you're out of sync with reality. Nature lets these events unfold through cause and effect, all flowing from that ancient plan, the seeds of all things, planted at the very beginning, and unfolding exactly as they were meant to. It would be ideal to leave this world having lived a life without lies, indulgence, or pride. But if you haven't, then at least let this comfort you, that you leave life tired of those vices instead of craving more. Isn't that already something to be thankful for? Has experience not taught you to flee the true plague? Not disease of the body, but the sickness of the soul. Physical illness harms you as an animal, but corruption of the mind corrupts you as a human being. You should not approach death with scorn or contempt, but accept it calmly as something natural, something that nature herself has appointed. Just as it is natural for a boy to grow into a young man, to age, to grow strong, to develop teeth, a beard, gray hair, to beget children, to give birth or to die, so too is dissolution a part of life's natural cycle. A wise person does not resist death or meet it with pride or aggression, but waits for it patiently, like any other natural event. Just as you await the birth of a child, still growing in the womb, with quiet expectation, so too should you await the moment when your soul is released from its physical casing, just as a child exits the womb. But if you're looking for something less philosophical and more emotionally powerful to help you accept death, then consider this. Nothing will make you more willing to let go of life than remembering the kind of people you're leaving behind, and the kind of mental state you're leaving behind as well. You shouldn't hate these people. On the contrary, you must care for them and bear with them patiently. But it's a fact worth reflecting on. When your time comes, you won't be leaving behind a world filled with people who share your values or your clarity. If you were surrounded by those who truly lived according to the same understanding, then yes, death would feel like a loss. But as things are now, you can see for yourself how exhausting it is to live among those who hold different, often contrary views. And so you might well find yourself saying, "Please hurry, death, before I too forget who I really am." When a person does wrong, they harm themselves. Injustice doesn't just hurt others, it corrodes the one who commits it, making them worse than before. And even failing to do what is right can be just as unjust as doing wrong. If your understanding of what's before you is accurate and your actions are kind, and if your attitude toward everything that comes from God is one of contentment, then you already have all that is needed. Clear away your illusions. Use thoughtful reflection, restrain desire, and above all, keep your mind free and self-possessed. All irrational creatures share one kind of soul, and all rational beings share one rational soul, distributed among them. Just as there is only one earth, one source of light, and one air we all breathe, so too there is one rational nature uniting all thinking beings. Anything that shares in a common substance naturally yearns to be united with it. Earthly things press downward toward the earth. Liquids flow together. Air seeks to mingle with air. Fire, too, not only rises by its nature but is eager to unite and burn with other fire. So much so that anything dry and lacking resistance easily catches flame. So it is with rational beings. Because their nature is higher and more refined than others, they feel an even deeper longing to connect with their own kind. Among irrational creatures, swarms and herds naturally gather, forming bonds and communities. Even though they lack reason, they possess a soul of some kind, and with it, a strong urge toward union. This is even more intense than the bonding we see in trees, stones, or plants. Among rational beings, this instinct gave rise to cities, friendships, families, councils, and even truces during war. And among even more sublime beings like stars and planets, though physically far apart, there is still a mysterious harmony, a shared correspondence. Such is the nature of true greatness. It seeks unity. Even across vast distances, it creates mutual sympathy. But now, look at what has happened. Rational beings, humans, are the only ones who have turned against their natural drive toward unity. Among all things of one kind, only humans resist coming together. Yet even when they resist nature, they are eventually pulled back. Watch closely and you'll see, it's undeniable. You're more likely to find a rock floating in the sky than a human who can truly live isolated from others. Everything in existence, humans, gods, the world itself, bears fruit in its own season. All things have their proper time to bring forth what they were meant to. While we typically associate bearing fruit with grapevines and trees, the term applies more broadly. Reason, for example, produces fruit for others to benefit from, but also inwardly for its own flourishing. Reason is expansive by nature. It spreads itself, creates in others what it contains within itself, and in doing so, multiplies. If you can teach others, do so. If you can't, then remember this: patience and kindness were given to you precisely for moments like these. Even the gods are kind to such people. They often grant them health, wealth, and honor, despite their flaws. So why shouldn't you be kind too? What's stopping you? Don't work as if you're destined to be miserable, or as if you want sympathy or applause. Instead, focus on one thing. In every act, pursue what is right and avoid what is wrong, guided by justice, kindness, and your shared humanity. Say this to yourself: today I left behind my suffering, or rather, I cast it out. For the truth is, what troubled you wasn't something outside of you, it was your own opinion of it. That's where the pain lived, and only by changing your thinking can you truly be at peace. Everything you experience in life is temporary, familiar, and often trivial. Things haven't changed much from the days of those who are now buried. What happens now is just what happened then. The things that trouble or excite us exist outside us. They don't know anything about themselves, nor can they speak to us. What gives them meaning is the judgment we form about them. That's the work of our own minds. Just as virtue and vice come from our actions, not from our feelings, so too do good and evil. What matters is what we do, not what we feel. When a stone is tossed into the air, it gains nothing by rising and loses nothing by falling. So too should we remain unaffected by external changes. Look closely into the minds of those whose opinions you fear. See what kind of people they are, and notice how little they even understand themselves. Everything in life is in flux. You're constantly changing too, and decaying in some small way. So is the entire universe. If someone else has sinned, it's their issue, not yours. Why let it disturb your peace? Let them deal with their own wrongdoing. Just like an action has an ending, or a decision can be reversed, opinions too can die off. This change is not a loss. Apply this to your life. You were a child, then a teen, then an adult, then an elder. Each stage was a kind of death of the one before, and yet none of these brought you grief. So why fear the final transition, your death, when it's just another change, no different in essence from the others? When the moment calls for it, seek refuge immediately in one of three places: Your own reason, the reason of the universe, or the reason of the person you're dealing with. Turn inward to your own mind so that you commit nothing unjust. Turn outward to the universe to remind yourself that you're a part of something vast and interconnected. Turn toward the other person and reflect. Is he acting out of ignorance or understanding? And always remember, he is your fellow human being, your kin. You were made to be part of a greater whole, a member of human society. So let every action you take contribute to that harmony. If what you do does not, even in a small way, serve the common good, then your action is out of place. It's like someone breaking ranks in an army or refusing to play their part in an orchestra. Childish outbursts, aimless chatter, souls barely holding up crumbling bodies. This is the tragedy of life when it's lived without wisdom. Like the lyrics of an old funeral dirge, life dragging itself forward in futility. When something troubles you, strip it down to its core cause. Look at it in its simplest, most raw form, apart from all the surrounding emotions or external fluff. Then ask, how long will this cause even last? What is its true weight in time? You've suffered so much already simply because you refused to let it be enough that your mind did its job. Real happiness is found in your reason, working as nature intended, not in chasing praise or external comforts. When someone slanders or insults you, look into their mind. Try to understand the kind of person they are. You'll often see that their opinion holds no real weight. Why be disturbed by what someone like that thinks of you? And yet, remember, they are still your fellow human, and by nature, your companion. Even the gods help people like them, with dreams and signs, not just the noble or wise. History repeats itself. Ages come and go, but the same things keep happening. Either everything that happens has been wisely planned by the universal mind, in which case you should respect and submit to its design, or everything is random and meaningless, in which case you should focus all the more on using your own reason and judgment wisely. Either way, you're covered. Soon the earth will cover us all, and even the earth will be transformed. The universe flows forward from one cycle of eternity to the next, in a stream of endless change. If you truly grasp how many cycles have already passed and how fast they go, you'll begin to see how small and trivial the things of this world really are. The whole universe is like a great river sweeping everything along. To fight against it is foolish. To flow with it is peace. And these so-called politicians, the ones who claim to be the only true practical philosophers, how full of false seriousness and self-importance they are. They act as if they're devoted to virtue and wisdom, but in reality, how pitiful and petty they are beneath the surface. Oh man, stop making such a fuss. Just do what your nature requires of you right now. Decide clearly, and don't worry whether anyone else sees it or not. Yes, perhaps you say, but I can't expect to live in Plato's ideal republic. That's fine. If others improve even slightly because of you, be grateful and value even that small progress. But ask yourself, have they truly abandoned their false beliefs? If not, then what does their so-called progress even mean? It's just another mask for the misery of souls still enslaved by illusion, pretending to honor reason and truth. Don't talk to me about Alexander or Philip or Demetrius of Phalerum. Whether they understood what nature requires and lived accordingly, only they can answer. But if they merely lived boldly, making noise as they went, then thank the heavens I'm not bound to imitate them. Real philosophy leads to honest simplicity and humility, not showmanship or vainglory. Don't try to sell me those empty values. From a higher viewpoint, imagine looking down upon it all. Here are herds and sacrifices. There, ships sailing on calm seas or crashing through storms. Look at the cycle of beginnings and endings, the interconnectedness of everything. People being born, others dying. Nations you've never heard of existing now, and millions who've never heard of you and never will. Even those who praise you today may curse you tomorrow. Fame, honor, reputation, it's all fleeting and hollow. So here is the true bottom line. Whatever happens to you that comes from the will of God, accept it. Whatever action you take that comes from your own will, make sure it's just. Let your only aim be to serve others, because that's what your nature as a human being was made for. Many of the things that trouble you can be dismissed completely. They exist only because of false beliefs and opinions. Let them go, and you'll have peace in space again. Try to hold the whole world in your mind at once. See this entire present era from above. Reflect on how quickly each thing comes into existence and then disappears. The time from birth to death is so short, while the time before and after is vast and immeasurable. Everything you see will vanish soon, and so will those who saw them disappear. Ask yourself, what kinds of minds do people really have? What drives them? What do they truly value or hate? Imagine if their inner lives were made visible. When they insult others, they think they're doing harm. When they flatter, they think they're doing good. But how wrapped up they are in illusions, in vanity and opinion. Loss and decay are really nothing more than change, just one form of transformation. And change is what the universe delights in most. Everything that happens follows this natural process, and so everything is done well. That's how the world has always worked since the beginning, and how it always will. Or are you really suggesting that everything in the world has been going wrong for countless ages and will continue to go wrong forever? With all the gods and divine powers, has none of them been able to set things right? Is the world truly condemned to endless misery? Look closer how vile and disgusting are the things people obsess over. Water, dust, bones. These make up our bodies, which are so easily infected and corrupted. The things we admire, like marble, are nothing more than clumps from the earth. Gold and silver, just the dense waste of the ground. That fancy royal clothing, it's made from sheep's wool dyed with the blood of shellfish. And life itself, just a vapor rising from blood, ready to dissolve and become something else at any moment. Will your complaining and grumbling never stop? What is it that disturbs you? Is anything truly new happening to you? What is it you're so shocked by, the cause or the matter itself? Either way, is it really that significant? Those are the only two things involved. It's time you fulfilled your duty to the gods with sincerity and simplicity. Seeing all these things for 100 years or just 3, it's the same in the end. If someone has sinned, it's his loss, not yours, and maybe he hasn't sinned at all. Either everything that happens is guided by reason, with each part serving a greater whole, and in that case, it's irrational for a single part to complain about what benefits the whole, or, if Epicurus is right and everything is just random collisions of atoms and life is accidental and death is simply dispersal, then what exactly are you so upset about? Would you say to your rational mind, you are dead, corruption has taken hold of you? Does reason pass waste like an animal? Does it graze like an ox or a sheep? Why then should it be considered mortal just like the body? Either the gods can do nothing for us at all, or they can calm and steady all the turmoil and unrest in your mind. If they can do nothing, then why do you bother praying? And if they can help, why wouldn't you pray for freedom from fear and desire, those very things that cause your inner suffering? Why not ask that you remain unmoved by either the presence or absence of worldly things, instead of begging to receive them or avoid them? Surely, if the gods are capable of helping at all, they can help in this way too. But maybe you say, the gods have given me free will in these matters. It's up to me to choose. Fine, then wouldn't it be better to use that free will to free your mind, rather than degrade it by chasing things beyond your control? And who told you the gods can't help even in what's up to you? You'll find out if you try. Just pray and see. One man prays that he might sleep with someone. Why don't you pray that you lose the desire for that? Another prays to be rid of someone. Pray that you learn to bear with him peacefully. Another asks that his child not die. Pray that you won't fear death at all. Let this be the aim of all your prayers, and watch what happens. Epicurus once said of himself in illness, I didn't waste time talking about my symptoms or my disease. My conversations with those who visited me weren't about my body, but about what truly mattered. I reflected on how my mind, though affected by my body's weakness, could still remain calm and content. I didn't hand myself over to the doctors like someone hoping they'd save me, or thinking that recovery was all that mattered. No, I found peace in the state I was already in. So whether you fall ill or face any other difficulty, strive to adopt that same mindset. Don't abandon your philosophy no matter what happens. Don't give in to the anxious chatter of ordinary people or the crude thinking of those who only understand the physical world. Every profession focuses solely on its own task and tool. Why shouldn't you do the same with your mind? Whenever you're upset by someone's shameless behavior, stop and ask yourself, is it really possible for the world to have no shameless people? Of course not. Don't wish for the impossible. This person, whoever they are, is simply one of those people the world inevitably contains. Think the same way about people who are deceitful, ungrateful, or treacherous. Every time you feel offended, remind yourself, there must be people like this. It's part of the human condition. And when you accept this general truth, it becomes much easier to show patience and understanding toward specific individuals. Here's another useful strategy. Immediately reflect on what virtue nature has given you to respond to that specific vice. For example, against ingratitude, nature gives us kindness and patience. Against dishonesty, integrity. Every vice has a corresponding virtue within you. Use it. And remember, is it not in your power to help someone understand the truth if they are acting in ignorance? Anyone who does wrong is simply mistaken, having veered off course from their proper aim. Why should their error make you suffer? Have they truly harmed your mind, your reason, your inner integrity, the only part of you that really matters? And if an uneducated person behaves ignorantly, why be surprised? You should have expected it. The real fault is yours, not theirs. Yours for being surprised when they act exactly as their nature or character suggests. You knew what kind of person they were, yet you still expected something different. And especially when you're dealing with someone ungrateful or dishonest, reflect on your own expectations. If you trusted someone known for being untrustworthy, or if you helped someone and then felt disappointed not to be repaid, that's on you. You should have seen the act of helping itself as the reward. Why demand anything more? You've done good to a fellow human being. Isn't that enough? That's what your nature was made for. Do you expect a reward as if the eyes should demand thanks for seeing or the feet for walking? These parts function according to their design, and so should you. As a human being, your role is to help others. Whether by correcting their thinking or simply assisting them in life, that is your purpose. And to fulfill your nature is its own reward. You need nothing more.